In the early 1900s, the world dreamed of building a ship unlike anything ever seen before. It wasn't just another passenger ship, it was a symbol of human ambition, engineering, and luxury. Britain's greatest shipbuilders accepted the challenge, determined to create the largest and most magnificent ocean liner in history. The White Star Line wanted to build a ship that would amaze the entire world, focusing not on speed, but on unmatched comfort, elegance, and size. At the famous Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, thousands of skilled workers spent years transforming millions of steel rivets and massive steel plates into an engineering masterpiece. Every detail was crafted with incredible precision, making the ship larger and more impressive with each passing day. Crowds gathered outside the shipyard simply to witness its unbelievable scale. Even before its first voyage, newspapers around the world called Titanic the greatest achievement of modern engineering. No one could imagine that this extraordinary masterpiece would soon become one of the greatest maritime tragedies in human history. On May 31, 1911, thousands of people gathered to witness a historic moment as Titanic was launched into the water for the very first time. The massive ship glided gracefully into the River Lagan, and cheers echoed across Belfast. It was a breathtaking display of engineering and craftsmanship. But the launch was only the beginning. Over the following months, workers completed the luxurious interiors, installing grand staircases, elegant cabins, fine dining halls, a swimming pool, a gymnasium, and some of the most advanced technology of its time. Titanic quickly earned the nickname the Floating Palace. People from around the world dreamed of sailing aboard this magnificent ship. Then, on April 10th, 1912, the day finally arrived. At the port of Southampton, more than 2,200 passengers and crew prepared for the maiden voyage. Wealthy businessmen, famous personalities, immigrant families, and hard-working crew members all stepped aboard, each carrying their own hopes and dreams. Standing proudly on the bridge was Captain Edward Smith, one of the most respected captains in the world, preparing to command what was expected to be his final voyage before retirement. As Titanic's powerful engines roared to life and the giant ship slowly left Southampton Harbor, thousands waved goodbye from the shore. No one knew that this magnificent journey had already begun its final chapter. As Titanic sailed across the Atlantic, life on board felt like a dream. First-class passengers enjoyed luxurious suites, elegant dining rooms, live music, and every comfort imaginable. Meanwhile, thousands of immigrants in third class laughed, shared meals, and dreamed of beginning a new life in America. Children played across the decks, musicians filled the halls with beautiful melodies, and the mighty ship moved smoothly through the calm ocean. Everything seemed perfect. But far ahead, hidden within the freezing waters of the North Atlantic, danger was silently waiting. On April 14th, 1912, wireless operators began receiving urgent messages from nearby ships, warning about large icebergs directly along Titanic's route. One warning followed another, reporting dangerous ice fields ahead. Despite these repeated alerts, Titanic continued sailing at nearly full speed. As night fell, the temperature dropped below freezing, and the sea became unusually calm, making icebergs even harder to see. High above the deck, two lookouts stood in the crow's nest, scanning the endless darkness with only their eyes. They had no binoculars, only the cold wind, the silent ocean, and the enormous responsibility of protecting the world's greatest ship. At exactly 11:40 p.m., everything changed. A lookout suddenly spotted a massive iceberg directly ahead and immediately rang the warning bell 3 times before calling the bridge with 4 unforgettable words. "Iceberg, right ahead!" First Officer William Murdoch reacted instantly, ordering the helm hard over and the engines into reverse. The crew did everything they could, but a ship as enormous as Titanic could not change direction in time. Seconds later, the iceberg scraped along the starboard side of the ship, tearing open the hole below the waterline. Many passengers barely noticed the impact, believing it was nothing more than a small vibration. But deep below the decks, freezing Atlantic water rushed violently into the forward compartments. Engineers fought desperately to contain the flooding as watertight doors slammed shut. Ship designer Thomas Andrews quickly inspected the damage and realized the devastating truth. 6 compartments had already been breached. Titanic had been designed to survive with 4 flooded compartments, but not 6. He quietly walked to Captain Edward Smith and delivered the heartbreaking conclusion: the ship will sink. At 12:05 a.m., Captain Smith gave the order to uncover the lifeboats and begin preparing for evacuation. For the first time that night, the crew understood the terrible reality. The greatest ship ever built could no longer be saved. Crew members moved through the ship, calmly asking passengers to put on life jackets and come up to the boat deck. At first, many people didn't believe the Titanic was in real danger. The ship still looked beautiful. The lights were shining, and the engines had only just fallen silent. Some passengers even laughed, treating the evacuation as nothing more than a precaution. But soon, the order echoed across the decks: women and children first. Families embraced each other, not knowing it would be their final goodbye. One by one, the lifeboats were lowered into the freezing Atlantic, many leaving with empty seats because few believed the ship could actually sink. As the minutes passed, the bow settled deeper into the icy water, and panic slowly replaced confidence. Inside the wireless room, operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride continued sending desperate SOS messages into the night, hoping another ship would hear their call. More than 50 miles away, the RMS Carpathia received the distress signal and immediately turned toward Titanic at full speed. On board, the ship's band continued playing gentle music to comfort frightened passengers. The deck tilted further. Loose furniture began sliding across the floor, and fear spread rapidly through the crowd. By around 2 o'clock in the morning, only a few lifeboats remained. Time was running out, and everyone finally realized the heartbreaking truth: the Titanic's fate had been sealed. The last lifeboats disappeared into the darkness, leaving more than 1,500 people still aboard the Titanic. Every passing minute pulled the great ship deeper beneath the freezing Atlantic. Water rushed through the magnificent grand staircase, flooding the luxurious halls that had once represented the height of human achievement. Soon, the bow vanished beneath the ocean, forcing the stern high into the night. Under the unbearable stress, the massive ship finally broke apart with the terrifying sound of twisting steel. At exactly 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the Titanic slipped beneath the icy Atlantic forever. The ocean that had once reflected her lights became silent once again. Survivors drifted through the freezing darkness in small lifeboats, praying that help would arrive before it was too late. Hours later, just before sunrise, the RMS Carpathia rescued those who had survived. News of the tragedy quickly spread across the world, leaving millions in shock. The disaster transformed maritime safety forever, leading to stricter lifeboat requirements, continuous wireless radio watches, and international iceberg patrols. More than a century has passed, yet the Titanic remains one of history's most unforgettable stories, not only because of how it sank, but because it reminds us that no matter how advanced human technology becomes, nature will always command the final word. The Titanic was more than a ship. It became a symbol of ambition, innovation, courage, sacrifice, and one of the greatest lessons humanity has ever learned.